All right, I am recording this episode a little early in the week. It is only Thursday, but I've got some things on my chest that I really want to talk to you guys about. So let's get this training stuff out of the way real quick. I have ran so far 11 miles this week. I PR'd my 10-mile run on Sunday. Ran the fastest 10 miles of my life. Average pace was like 9:31, as you guys just saw. Took Monday and Tuesday off, and then ran yesterday, which was Wednesday, and ran my fastest mile so far this year. My all-time PR that I set, like 5 years ago in high school was a 6:13. And so now I guess I'm, 5 or 6 seconds away from my all-time mile PR. I did work up to a comfortable 275 single on squat on Tuesday afternoon. So the legs had a very, very slight amount of fatigue in them. And then, I'm hitting chest tonight, obviously, just running through this little circuit that I made up. This week is going to be a deload week. I have picked up a side job, and I am way in over my head. It's just turned out to be a lot more than what I thought. So I've been getting off work and then, going and working on the side job. I'm going to be working on it this weekend. I'm going to try to hunt this weekend as well. So I've just been pulling like 12 or 13-hour work days and, trying to get everything pulled together for hunting as well. Just a very busy time in my life at the moment. And so I figured this week would be a good week to deload and then ramp the mileage back up next week and hopefully, break 20 miles. But anyways, I'm sure that a lot of you guys have heard of the recent Charlie Kirk shooting. He was murdered yesterday at the time of this video. He was 31. He was a husband and a father of 2 children. He was a very outspoken conservatist, Republican, and perhaps the most important thing is an outspoken Christian. I don't like to get very political. I've got the ways that I lean, and I try to avoid talking politics with a lot of people, but I will touch on them a little bit today. And I've got some Jesus talk for you guys as well. And, if faith or Christianity isn't your thing, I ask that, you sit here and you listen to some of the questions that I'll pose tonight, because I believe that these are all questions we need to ask ourselves. But Charlie Kirk was this outspoken, conservative Christian. He went to college campuses and had debates. He was very active in the political field, just around the idea of all the controversial topics, abortion laws, gun laws, immigration policies, federal and, national spending, I guess. The United States of America, which is where I am, is trillions of dollars in debt. Anyways, forget that. So, Charlie Kirk. I never met this man, obviously. Just seen these videos of him. But I agreed with a lot of the things that he said. And most importantly, I shared a common faith with this man. I've seen, now that all these videos are surfacing, I've seen him on an interview, and then the interviewer asked him, what would you want to be remembered by if everything was taken away? And he wanted to be remembered by his faith, by his courage and his boldness for his faith. Out of all things that somebody would want to be remembered by, he wants to be remembered by his faith, his Christian faith. And that is one thing that really pains me about this shooting, is that Charlie is what I believe the biggest voice for Christ that we had on the political field. I don't see anybody else. I don't hear of anybody else, dropping Bible verses and, speaking out for Christ amongst the political field as often as Charlie did. I believe that, really Charlie was one of a kind. And, I'm struggling with this. This man was shot and killed simply because of his different opinion. So my first question to you guys is, where is your hope? What do you guys hope in? Not that I ever trusted in mankind, but whatever little, ounce of hope that was there for man is all but gone, man. It is fading more and more every single day. I know a lot of people like to ridicule the Bible, the Christian Bible, and Christians for, saying the end times are near, that people have been saying that for hundreds of years. But can you guys look around and see the state that our world is in, that our nation is in? Because my Christian Bible tells me, and I have several different verses for you guys tonight, about rumors of wars. Let's get into that one real quick. Let me flip to this verse. Matthew 24, chapter 24, starting in verse number 6. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. Does that sound familiar at all to you guys? Is this not playing out before you? Verse 8, all these are but the beginning of the birth pains. And the birth pains is a reference to the end times. This is Jesus talking here to his disciples. Verse 9, then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. Is that talking about politicians? False prophets will arise and lead many astray. Verse 12, and because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. Let's stop and talk about this for a second. Lawlessness will be increased. I am so thankful that I do not live near a big city. I do not live in a big city. I live in a very rural community, growing up on a dead-end road. I've got 3,000 acres of woods literally out my back door. And I don't appreciate that life and this, that childhood as much as I should. Because when I look around at these cities and see the riots and see the desolation and the terror and the pain and the grieving that comes from everything that happens in these cities, it makes me scared of large crowds, to be honest. I'm not a fan of crowds just because in this day and age, you never know. You never know. And things seem to be getting worse and worse. Greed is such a big thing I see as well. There's options, I think, of bettering some things for some people. But the richer get richer, man, and the poorer grow poorer. And so, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And so I watch these governments concern themselves with only how much money can I stuff into my pocket. It doesn't matter at what cost. It doesn't matter who I take it from. It doesn't matter what I have to do to get it. I want more money. What happens for me to get that money is unimportant. It doesn't matter. Going back to verse 12, and because lawlessness will be increased. Do you not see the anger in our nations and across the world nowadays? The love of many will grow cold, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So I want to touch on verse 14 for a second. The gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. A lot of people ask, or one question against the Christian faith is, what about the people that will never hear the gospel, that live on an island somewhere? I think, this verse right here tells us that the gospel, the story of Christ, will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. So not an ear will go without hearing the gospel. I feel like this verse is pretty explanatory on that topic and shuts that question down, because the proclamation throughout the whole world will come before the end. Let's get into something else. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25. Knowing their thoughts, this is again Jesus talking, he said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. I believe that politics at this point, Republican, Democrat, whatever you are, at the very top of the food chain, these parties are likely working together to divide the people. Division seems to be more apparent than it ever has been. And here the scripture tells us, knowing their thoughts, he said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. You guys know what the divorce rates in America are right now? Divorce rates are the highest that they've ever been. You know why? Because the house is divided. The nuclear family, the role of each family member has been perverted, distorted, destroyed, scorned, ridiculed, and we are erasing what a family is meant to be according to the Bible. And divorce rates are higher than they've ever been. So many children are growing up in single mother homes or single father homes. It is unreal. And there's other things I could go touch on around the family, but I'll leave it at that. A lot of people, and when a lot of people try to make the Bible out to say is that the woman is meant to be submissive, the woman is meant to, just be a slave to the man. I don't agree that, that's necessarily what the Bible teaches. The Bible tells us that we are to love our wives as Christ loved the church. I believe that's what it says. I don't have the, verse pulled up right now. But it's pretty clear that Christ loved the church dearly throughout the Bible. And if a man can step up to his proper role of leadership, if a man can step up to the standards of the Bible, then a woman should desire to submit to him. You know, a man is meant to be a leader. But the first problem is that men do not submit themselves to the Lord. Men try to lead by themselves, and what it turns into is greed and desire to overrule, to overpower, because we have not first submitted and humbled ourselves at the throne of grace. That is why the family is falling apart today. Let's get into the next bunch of scripture that'll be more applicable to recent events. 2 Timothy chapter 4. We'll start in verse 3. For the time is coming when people will not endure sound teaching, but having itching ears they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions, and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths. People will not endure sound teaching. The largest voice that there was on the political field for Christ was just murdered people. Church is being shut down. Christ is being scorned and ridiculed. But having itching ears, they will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own passions. Do you think you could apply that to politicians once again? And the funny thing is that politicians are elected by people that think they have the best interest in their mind. Politicians give no crap about you. Politicians, as I said just a few minutes ago, will only care about the money that they can stuff into their pockets. And so people elect these politicians because they think they're a teacher to suit their own passion. And yet these guys have completely different desires in their hearts. And they will turn away from listening to the truth and wander off into myths. Can you have discussions with people anymore? Discussions turn into heated arguments. And, you know, as we can look at yesterday, murder. But to my Christian believers, we are to be sober-minded, endure suffering, do the work of an evangelist, and fulfill your ministry. 2 Timothy chapter 3, starting in verse 1. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty. Does that sound familiar? For people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents. The families are falling apart here in America, if you guys aren't aware. Ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Avoid such people. Does any of that, can you look around and see any of that in the world today? Because when I look around, this is dang near all that I see outside of the church. And to be honest, a lot of this is working its way into the church. And that goes back to what I was reading earlier. False prophets will arise, and people will turn away to myths, turn away from listening to the truth. Let's go back here to lovers. Where is it at? Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. Pleasure seems to be such a I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is. If you guys can't tell, I am, riddled with passion and very strong feelings right now. But lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. I made a video last week about how people are consumed with consumption and taking in everything that they can, and how such things of self-mastery, such as discipline and learning how to endure hardship, all of these things are falling away in modern society. And I believe a lot of people don't even realize that that's one of the things they're missing. I'm far enough into the video now, most people aren't going to listen, but the other day my coworker told me he was getting tired of working. 40-year-old man, got a family, got a wife, 3 kids. He's done a few jobs, but obviously now he's an electrician and he's tired of wiring. I wish I would have had this conversation with him, but I'm going to have it with you guys now because I held my tongue and it didn't really further it with him. But I don't think his problem is that he's tired of wiring. I think his problem is that he doesn't have any passion. This is a man that has no hobbies. He collects and grabs and takes anything that people will offer him. He gets off of work and he goes and does side jobs. And he goes home, he watches TV, he eats supper, and he goes to bed. I don't want to sound like I'm trying to put this guy down, but there's nothing to look forward to in life. If every day you're only going to wake up, go home, or wake up, go to work, go home, eat, watch TV, and go to bed. You do nothing but consume. There's no desires. There's no passions. There's no loves in your life. You got to have some goals, man. I hate to use myself as an example, but when I get home, I've got something I'm training for every day. I've got something to look forward to every single day. And maybe that's just me in my youth right now, but I'm training for a 50-mile race. I forgot what week this is, maybe week 5 or 6. Training for a 50-mile race. 26 weeks out from that. Hunting season is here. I've fiddled with my bow and my broadheads, trying to become the best hunter that I can be. I've got several Bible studies that I'm trying to do, things that I'm struggling with in my faith. And so I'm diving into the scriptures and reading and grasping everything that I can to lead me in the right direction, to give me these answers to the questions that I'm looking for. I've got books I want to read. I've got people I want to see. I've got memories I want to make. And I've got a person that I want to be. And so when I get home, it's not my time to sit down and watch TV and eat supper and be a freaking zombie. I've got things I want to do. I've got things I want to experience. I've got things I want to grow in. And I pray that I never find myself in a place where I have no more desire. other than to rest and consume. That is such a dangerous place, and yet it is where I see so many people living their lives at today. And so I ask you guys again, where is your hope? Because I look around and there is no hope left in mankind. And it's a scary place to pick up my Bible and read that it will only get worse from here. But it pushes me deeper into the Bible because I know that this is my only hope. Man isn't turning around. Man is wicked. Desperately wicked. And here I am trying to live a good life, a moral life, a life of faith and courage and boldness. And I'm drowning in a way. I look around and it's a scary world. And I can do nothing but fall on my knees and pray to Jesus Christ. Because when I look around, I see nothing. Nothing. No hope. No idea of redemption. And I know that this will come to an end. Maybe you don't believe in the end of time, but the end of your life is going to come. Nobody ever lives forever. And for many of us, we don't know when our end will come. You know, Charlie sure didn't. And what do you believe in after the end of your life? I found my belief, and I'd encourage you guys to find a belief of your own. I'd encourage you to pick up the Bible. And I pray that the Holy Spirit works in you. I pray that you can feel Christ speaking to you, because I have been struggling a lot lately. And I'm almost torn between two voices. There's just such a strong pull towards my faith and my Bible, because there's nowhere else left for me to go. And even amongst my fellow believers, my fellow Christians, the examples for the younger generations are failing. I look around and I struggle to find leaders that I had as a young child. And so I try to live my life in a way that other people will have leaders. I try to live how I feel like the Bible teaches me to live. And I try to live the best and the most upright way that I can. But there's nowhere else left for me to turn. I'm praying for you guys, and I'll catch you on the next video. Now, I know you're not supposed to do this, but I'm jumping back in after I've edited this entire video. And, I just wanted to add that the American society is in a place that we now celebrate death. I'm sure that you guys have seen the comments, the jokes, the memes, the appreciation that, Charlie Kirk was murdered. And it has become a scoffing matter, a laughing matter, and, it is somehow amusing and pleasing to find that a wife will never see her husband again, and 2 children will never get to see their father again. I've seen comments and stories where, Charlie's daughter had ran to him after the incident because she was scared of the noise. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the channel Woodward TV, WOODWARD, Woodward TV. I recently made a video over this shooting, and I'd encourage you to watch that one. He has some good thoughts on the mind state of society, and how dangerous it is that a death can now be celebrated. I just encourage you guys to pray and be leaders to those that you are around, because in the big picture, I'm not entirely sure how much I can do. I don't see myself changing the world, but I can change somebody else's world, if that makes any sense. I may not change the world for everybody, but I can change somebody's world. So I want you people to, if you're still listening, I want you to hold on to that and think about those that you're around daily. Think about how you can support them, how you can be there for them, and how you can show love and appreciation for them. Hold your family tight. Make memories with them. And never give up an opportunity to show your appreciation. If you're a believer, you better hold on tight, man. It's got a feeling it's about to get real rough from here on out. And if you're not a believer, you might want to consider it, brother. I'll let you guys enjoy the last minute or so of this clip in its entirety. I give you a little flex off and let you know 30 minutes a day is all you need to give, and that'll change your life. God bless you guys. Catch you next week. "30 minutes, boys. 30 minutes. That's all you need, son. 30 minutes can change your life. God bless y'all."